Welcome to the Behind the Calls podcast presented by Make Good Grow. Each episode we'll hear from an inspiring leader from the third sector and unpick the highs and lows of running a good cause. Sit back, relax and enjoy. Okay, well, here we are for the Make Good Grow podcast. It's Behind the Calls with It's Time. And I've got Harry and Dave with me today. So first of all, before today, I sent you a list of questions, and the most important question on there was if you were famous pop stars, what would your rider be? So do you want to take it in turns to tell us what you put on your rider list?
After you, Dave.
Mine was a Sonos speaker.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit greedy.
Gotta have the beach going. Seafood and Moscow mules. So they're nice cocktails.
Nice cocktails. Okay, good. Harry?
I put slippers.
Old man.
Very, very old
Yeah.
man-ish. Pint of extra cold Guinness and some nachos. So
it has become tradition on the Behind the Calls podcast that we try and get you something from your rider, but not everything. So
here's a Sonos speaker.
Here's some Guinness.
Oh, class.
I didn't get any dirty nachos, but there's some Doritos,
Nice.
and the best I could do for seafood was prawn cocktail crisps.
Love it.
And the bar had been prepped, and there will be a Moscow Mule for you after we finished on the bar. It's just the bar's not open yet, so that was it. But no Sonos speaker and no slippers, sorry.
That's fine.
But
Thank you very much. These are actually,
It's good, isn't it?
actually cold as well.
I know, I went down the
Can I
shop
get
and...
four?
I know, it's good,
Very
isn't it?
fine. I'll make sure I don't spill them on the
Yeah,
controls.
don't spill them on the controls. So now we've got that out of the way, you've had your rider. The first thing to do really is to find out a bit about It's Time and just hand over to you to tell us a bit about what it is, what you do, how you came to be doing it. So, Dave, do you want to take it away first?
Of course, yeah. So It's Time is a charity that was set up January last year. So January 2021 originally. And
So still new, quite new then, really.
yeah, really
Yeah.
new. The idea came in the July before that. So from idea to now, about a year and a half. And we exist to make the world a better place for young adults who lose a parent or
Yeah.
both parents. So that's because 16 to 30-year-olds is the kind of range that we look at. The charity was set up because we've all been through it. So we now have 7 trustees and various volunteers. Everyone that works on the charity has been through the loss of a parent
Right.
when they were younger. And we all felt that there was nothing really for us at the time. And even when we started looking into it, there really wasn't much at all, specifically for that age range where you have adulting and all the other things that you've got to deal with, hormones and everything, being thrown at you. So yeah, that's what we're here for, is to make the world a better place for them,
Nice.
which then has a very broad remit, but for a kind of more of a niche set of people.
And I suppose I've got a question linked to that is, have you ever ran a charity before? Like, had you ever done anything like this before?
No charities, no. I've been the first employee of a startup before. I moved out to India for that, and I've set up a business before. So some experience of some of the things.
Yeah.
But when even dealing with the charity commission I think we had about 150 questions back from the original.
Really?
So it was probably like 4 weeks of my time, full time,
Right. Just getting
to
that.
get it to become a CIO, which is a kind of incorporated charity. So there are challenges involved with that and with kind of other things, but none of us have experience working in charities actually.
Okay, interesting. And so how did you get to be involved then, Harry? What happened there?
I was connected with Dave through Make Good Grow.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, there you go. Knew that one.
Yeah.
So I came in to actually meet Nigel. I think it was December 2020. And as part of what I was doing at the time, working as a project manager for a design company, and I came just to check out the Mill Street offices. But I got introduced to the Make Good Grow team at that point. In my head, I had my work hat on to try and improve the ESG, CSR of that business by offering them more opportunities to volunteer in the local community. And from there, I thought I'd actually put myself more forward and offer myself, my skills to try and help potential charities, local community groups that might need support and connect them to various other people. And from that, to be honest, I got sent through a couple of opportunities which didn't didn't really resonate with me too much at the time. And then the opportunity came up with It's Time, and it was very, if I'm honest, it was very, I suppose, startup-y in a way. Like the charity was set up from January, but it hadn't launched yet.
Yeah.
There was no identity, there was no logo. It was very much like the early phases. So it's really exciting to get connected with Dave, and the Make Good Grow team set up a call, which was really emotional. I remember the call, like getting introduced, and I'd always had a bit in my head, a bit of a vision of creating, maybe not so much a charity, but a business or something for people that had been through loss of parents. Because for me, it's 16, 17 years now, and I'd always had this vision, and this popped up out of nowhere in a way, and I was just like, it's just was like 100%. I've got to get involved. Meant to be. Yeah. We had a call. It was super emotional, great to just build, and then really just we just started running with it, and launched the charity in May of last year, which is like a brand awareness kind of. We're here. The website's live, and obviously a lot of work in the background went on to, create an identity, what our ethos was, what our kind of vision was, like Dave said, is making the world a better place for as adults, but then also our purpose to try and create a community, sense of safe space for people that have been through loss. And it was just a really emotional but really special process with bringing together of myself, Dave, the other 5 trustees from all different experiences, but one commonality, and just trying to push forward like so much change with everything we've been through to just basically be positive, I suppose.
And how have you found it, like trying to balance, obviously you've all got day jobs and stuff as well, and then balancing launching a whole new charity and all the things that come with that, because it's quite a considerable undertaking in itself, and then you've also got your day jobs on top of it. So how you found that? Like, how much time you've been able to give to the charity week in, week out?
It is a challenge.
Yeah.
So all of us, I don't know how many volunteers we have now, quite a few volunteers plus the 7 trustees. It's a challenge. At the peak, I was probably doing 20 to 25 hour weeks on the charity, and then
on top of each job,
50 odd hour weeks at work as well. So that's obviously not a sustainable model.
And a bit of life somewhere in between that. Like, no, just forgot the life bit.
Yeah, maybe an hour or 2 a week. So that's not sustainable. And then sometimes when your work becomes really, your kind of 9 to 5 becomes not 9 to 5 for a bit.
Yeah.
Like it has recently for me, for instance, then you have to kind of put certain things on the back burner. So it is a bit of a challenge, and I think we've all at various points found it more difficult and then less difficult. Luckily, we have quite a big set. So we have 7 trustees and then volunteers, so we have been able to pick stuff up and then move on. Someone else take a bit and all that kind of stuff. But very, very luckily, and we're very fortunately that we are now looking to bring in our first part-time hire.
Cool.
Which will help with implementation of a lot of our ideas. We have a lot of ideas, so just not enough time to do it.
Yeah.
And some more kind of training, them to be able to do training, to be able to triage beneficiaries and grow our kind of beneficiary base and our engagement. So I think that will help a lot with some of the calls that we have to take at lunchtime at work, or it's mainly in the evening if it's stuff that we have to do with ourselves, and that can go quite late into the evening and those kind of things.
And are your employers aware, and are they like on board with it? Are they quite supportive? That's good. Yeah. Yeah.
In general, I think everyone, from what I understand, some of our employees, some of the trustees' employees have actually, given us money.
Yeah. Because like you were saying as well, like it's an important part of ESG and CSR for businesses to be involved. And so they've having people in their workforce, they're actually setting up and running a charity. That's like quite a big, bonus for them as a business to know that's happening, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think through some of the places where people work, it has opened up quite a nice few little opportunities to share the charity with them, with their workplace. There's a lot of obviously work going on with businesses about well-being and wellbeing toolkits and all that kind of stuff, and being able to like slot its time into some of those conversations is really just really, really incredible. And I think going back to how we juggle it with work, I think at first it was a bit of a process because we didn't all know each other either when we kind of set it up. So we were just learning about each other, how people like to be talked to, how people like to communicate. And we've gotten a bit of a rhythm now where it's quite nice. We're all kind of super open, and we break off into little subgroups when we need to manage things. We always try and pair up and, have conversations with, for example, we had a conversation 2-3 weeks ago with EasyJet. A couple of us broke off to have that. 2 or 3 of us broke off on the investment and the funding side, and kind of getting in a nice harmony now of how we're working together. And we're getting more challenges now about time because we've achieved so much in, 9 months maybe, or however long it's been set up. And it's a problem we're facing, but it's something that it's just like it's a nice problem to be able to go, we need to get someone in now to help build this out because of the, I suppose, success in that, and the impact, I suppose, is the right word.
Well, you're obviously getting the engagement, and you're also seeing funds come in as well, which is obviously reassuring to you as trustees that you're doing something right and that people are buying into it, I guess. And that was going to be our question, is like, what's the future plans for that? Are you planning to take on a team and, you guys have a trustees board and have an employed staff and what have you?
Exactly, yeah. And actually we're working with one of the Passioneers.
Good.
From Make It Grow.
That's what I like to hear.
What that kind of longer term vision looks like. And then some activities that we can kind of work towards. But yes, essentially we have, the current plan is we're going for grants and things like that. And if we get one of them, then we can have a part-time person come in pretty much now, and then a full-time person in from July, August onwards.
Cool.
And they can then offer primary care. So counselling services and those kind of things, alongside implementing some more of our ideas. And then eventually the hope and aim is that we get enough traction, enough funding, enough need, which there's definitely need within. Yeah. If you think about it from a business perspective, product market fit, there's just like no one there to help these people. Yeah. And there's a lot of need for that help. Yeah. So I think we can go really far with it. The aim would be that we would then stay as trustees to do a more traditional trustee role. Yeah, like the governance and definitely. And like you say, like there's such a massive scope out there for the support that you're going to be offering and that you're trying to tap into. And even if there were other charities doing exactly the same, they're not going to be able to exhaust the need, are they? Because it's just so huge. It's about 15% from our stats. About 15% of the UK lose a parent by the time they turn 30.
Really?
And actually, we're commissioning a YouGov survey to get a more solid number on that. Yeah. It's around the 15% mark, which is a lot. If you line up your friends when you turn 30, it's about 1 in 6.5 of them. So, it's a big event in anyone's life at any time of their life. But during that kind of early stages of your life, there's just so much going on that a little bit of support and us being able to support their support networks better should help them, get through it and then move on with their life and thrive with what they want to do next.
And have you guys found it kind of therapeutic for your own journey, your own experience by being able to do this? Because, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, but like in my life, I used to work for an adoption charity, and I'm an adoptive parent. I've got 2 kids that my husband and I adopted, and actually working day in, day out for an adoption charity and going home and dealing with adoption at home became all encompassing and overwhelming. And it's like, for you guys, like you say, you're doing your day jobs and then you're managing the charity and then you're dealing with your own, trauma. However far past it is, it's still trauma, isn't it? So, like, how have you found that?
For me personally, it makes me smile because it actually makes me feel quite proud, to be honest with you. I've never really been open about anything that's happened in my personal life to a lot of people, but I've never been more open this year since I started doing what I'm doing with It's Time, and I found a new way to grieve, really, and a new kind of light to accept the fact that I'm grieving. I'll always grieve. It's just suppressed love, whatever way you want to look at it. So it's helped me massively just have conversations, share stories, like write articles, be passionate about something that is positive from a negative experience. And it's helped me enormously. I can't ever explain actually how much it is without getting like super emotional about it, because it's just so positive. And there's obviously that sadness there, but it's kind of like, which will always be there, but it's just looking at it in a slightly different way. And talking to so many people from since when we launched, people reaching out just saying, this is amazing, let's get in touch, how can I help? It's at first it was overwhelming, but you start having the conversations with these people and everyone just wants to share their stories and talk, basically. And it's just so nice to be able to create something that has allowed that to happen for other people, but also for myself.
So it's not overbearingly discomforting for you, because you're kind of reopening your own wound by talking about it day in, day out and all that kind of stuff. You kind of...
Yeah, I suppose at the start of the process, I had to I acted, and then I just worked out as I went, really, when I started, working with It's Time, or volunteering, before I became a trustee.
Yeah.
And, I just had to accept that I had to be very open and show my vulnerabilities and my story to be able to, authentically and genuinely create stuff that will help that taboo subject and the gap in the market, or whatever you want to call it, with trying to offer services and resources. Because everything you see from the website, the help guides, the social media, the conversations and toolkits and stuff we're looking to create, and it's all from our own experiences. It's very, very raw, but it is just all genuine from us, because that's just the way we've communicated and have that mentality of ourselves, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
it's definitely a mixture. So I think, as Harry alluded to right at the start, it's quite, so when we first launched, we kind of posted stuff on LinkedIn and Instagram and wherever else, and personally on our personal accounts, and a lot of people were then messaging people all the way up to kind of, I'd say like mid-50s, guys who've just said, I've never spoke about this, and it happened 35 years ago, all the way down to quite young people who are going through it right now. And some of them are a bit kind of, if you're an empath, then I take on people's emotion.
Yeah.
So if there's quite a lot of sadness that comes out of some of the conversations, that bit's sad, but I know that they can get through it with our help, and with other people's help. So that's what kind of drives the conversation forward and stops it from becoming like a really sad thing. Because, of course, losing parents, sad, but a lot of people that I know that have lost a parent have a very empathetic people, or a very loyal people. I think my life isn't better because I lost my mom. I think I'm a better person because it happened, because I understand people's emotions more,
right,
and all that kind of stuff. So that helps.
It's given you a different perspective on the world as well, hasn't it? So, yeah. Exactly,
and things like, this is probably to my detriment, but things being risky at work or risky in life, for me, it's not really, I think we all share this to a certain degree, it's not really that much of a risk, because you've already lost something so big to you that if you lose your job, it's like, I'll just get a new job. It's not a big deal. And that's probably the reason why, for instance, the charity started, as we all went, right, well, what's the worst that can happen? We'll give it a go.
Yeah.
If we can help 5-10 people, that's 5 or 10 more people helped than if we hadn't done it. We've obviously helped way more people than that, but it's like, what's the work? We can just, if it didn't work, we could just round it down to 3-4 months. It's not.
So it's almost like you've been desensitized to risk, because you've already had something so like traumatic happen in your life that, why not go for it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Which is good and bad.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's quite interesting, because there's a lot of similarities between the experiences that you and the people that you're supporting have had to the adoption sector, and like children who have been adopted have had, because they're dealing with the trauma of being separated from their birth parents, which is effectively loss of their birth parents, isn't it? And you find a lot of adopted children, they will continue to be seeking, they'll be thrill seekers, they'll be pushing the boundaries of what risk is, because they're kind of desensitized to it. So they're trying to find that kind of sensation of fear or challenge or whatever in different ways. So yeah, it's really interesting that you kind of touched on that.
Yeah, and as we've explore grief as a topic, and I had never thought of it like this before, but grief can mean you can grieve because you're not speaking to a friend that you speak to as much, or you split up with a partner, or whatever it might be. There's still grief processes. Obviously, there's varying levels of it, spectrum of it, but I can definitely see how they'd be very similar. And same with people that become single parents, and the other parent kind of leaves for whatever reason.
Yeah,
it's a similar kind of thing. We'd love to be able to help everyone with everyone. I'm sure we all would.
Yeah.
But yeah, we try and stick to a certain age range and focus on that and their challenges.
We've also had a nice handful of bits of feedback from, for example, mothers or fathers who have lost their wife or partner, and they've got children that are in that age bracket.
Right.
And they find it, have been very complimentary about what we're doing, because they can see what they need for their children.
Yeah.
Because they've lost their dad or mum, and it's really interesting getting all the different perspectives on how it's looked about it, and it just kind of just reinforces that encouragement that it's like let's keep going with it. That's as tough as it is to go through all the personal journeys and the hard work and the hours, and it's just but let's keep going, because we're getting so many different viewpoints on what we've created, and it's just really encouraging.
Yeah, and I think your story of setting up a charity is going to be really interesting to lots of people that will listen to this, because there's lots of people in similar situations where they might not have gone as far down the road yet, but they've got an idea, or they've got a small, starting something small kind of thing. But also there's loads of charities and good causes out there that are founder-led organisations where it's still a volunteer CEO who's running it full time and not taking a salary, and just making sure, because they believe so much in what the output of the organisation is. So are you going kind of national with this? Are you trying to support people on a national level?
Yeah, so there's various, and we're still trying to work all this different stuff out, but there's various different charity commissions in different parts of the UK. So I think we're England and Wales currently,
right,
from what I understand.
Yeah. You have to have a separate registration for Scotland, don't you?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So we started with England and
Wales, yeah.
But because a lot of our activity is on the website and social media based currently, we get hits on the website from literally all around the world. It's crazy, the most random countries you could ever imagine, people looking through the website.
Really?
And staying on it for quite a long time. I guess the content, Harry, you did a blog, didn't you, an article, and then loads of people were reading that. One of the other trustees, Nia, did one about the 15 things that you'll experience or that you will think about when you lose a parent suddenly. And that just people from America, New Zealand, just name a country, they're just random people. But the focus is nationally on England and Wales currently. But with the content, that's a broader remit. And then we've got various stuff coming out like micro learning courses, which again, that will be open to whoever lands on our website or
wherever they can get access to it, they can use it. Yeah,
America, wherever else.
Yeah, that's cool. So will those micro courses be like a paid for thing that people can just purchase, or would be free to access, or
all free?
All free.
Yeah. So that's one of our next big projects that we're working on. We've done our help guides, which are being used currently by big universities and corporates and schools and everything in between, which is amazing to see. And we're helping a lot of different corporates and universities and schools with their bereavement processes, so redesigning their process from scratch to make them feel a bit more kind of almost like customer user experience. Customer experience sounds strange in that context. So we're doing a lot of that stuff. So I think a lot of that is the bit that, I think some charities can focus on the end bit once you've got to a stage where you feel like you need to go to the charity. When actually if you can support what are supposed to be the support networks, there may even not be a need to even come to us, or not in the same kind of emergency kind of way.
Yeah.
So there's various stuff going on. The micro-learning courses will be free and they will be accessed online essentially through kind of portal. And we've got loads of them coming out, but there'll be things more like functional things like how to arrange a funeral.
Oh, right, okay.
How to arrange...
so quite practical, like tour guides type.
Estate and those kind of things, but alongside things like how to, not that there's a rule on how to date, but like how to approach dating after you've lost a parent in most of the
Right.
case. So a kind of broad range, but the start focus will be on the more kind of functional aspects of, you can imagine if you lose a single parent and you are a single child and you don't have any close family,
You're suddenly,
the money might be very tight or not there at all. You have to wind down an estate. There's so much you have to do that, luckily for myself, and I think for quite a lot of the trustees, there wasn't that issue.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people and a lot of the beneficiaries, there are
Yeah, I bet.
very, very big issues that you could imagine are quite almost too bigger issues at some points. So the more that we can support these people in helping them and be able to bring in experts to kind of do the content of the courses.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Are you kind of working in partnership with like legal advisors and, therapeutic providers and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so that project's just about to get kicked off.
Yeah.
Probably take, who knows,
6 months.
6 months, 6 to 8 months, something like that. Yeah. So look to launch them kind of towards the end of this year. And then, they're ones where once the investments we put in up front, there's a bit of a cost to have them on a platform, but it's then it can be used by so many different people.
Yeah.
And will be really valuable. There's examples in the US there's one example in the US of a business that has it all on an app.
Oh, right, okay.
But you have to pay, and there's something about having paywalls.
Yeah.
It's just like the real need is the fact that you just need access to that information. Adding paywalls to get to that information just feels very strange, especially for charity.
And if you can get the funding to provide or produce the stuff, then, it makes sense to do that.
I think it's looking at it from like two sides. The one side is looking at the young adults, the 16 to 30-year-old age range of the age that we're trying to take care of in a way, and breaking that down to be like, well, what are the life experiences they'll go through within that period? And it's like, career advice, thinking about universities and what subjects to choose, and then the life experiences that go outside of that, the admin, the financial management, all of that, and it's just trying to dovetail it together to just be just super helpful and resourceful for those people, because there's just nothing really out there.
Yeah, and I suppose it's a mixture of like almost FAQs of like things that your community of people have asked, but also for someone that's maybe just starting out, like they've just lost a parent, is things that you might not have thought you're going to be coming up against in the future. So almost giving them a heads up and kind of preparing them for those eventualities as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But also I think it's really interesting you're saying about like how the parent that's left behind is supporting the child or, helping them to cope. But also, like, again, in my experience being an adoptive parent, like how the school and the teachers are prepared to support a child who's been in that experience, how the employer is prepared to cope with, how you support someone in your workforce that is kind of come through that situation as well.
Yeah, and it's just really encouraging to see the handful of schools, unis, and various organisations, like quite big ones that we've spoken to, are so open to the conversation and so open to kind of showing us what their processes and policies are and what's offered out and how us helping them like shape it.
Yeah.
So, it's just, like fair play to them for being relatively open book and just having the conversation with the charity that's been set up for 9 months. It's just like, they want to do better things, and that's what we're trying to push that forward.
And is there an element of campaigning and policy type stuff that you might need to get involved with in the future to make sure that, there's a fair leave entitlement for people that are dealing with bereavement in that way and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so it's actually changed because of COVID.
Right.
So I think the legal minimum was 2 days, which is just genuinely
horrendous.
baffling.
That is.
For any age,
Yeah.
it's baffling. Right?
Yeah.
You can't process anything in 2 days. You're not going to be good at your job when you come back after 2 days. It's a no-go for everyone, right?
Yeah.
That's moved to 5 days because of COVID.
Right.
Which still, the fact that COVID had to... Anyway, 5 days is still not enough, right? Now we have more of a hybrid model with quite a lot of the working, but not all of the working. There's more opportunity, I think, and with the fact that we have like welfare officers and welfare directors at universities and things, we have more of a chance to kind of, there's more of a conversation there, right?
Yeah.
But we want to be in those kind of conversations. We've been linked up a few times with, there's a kind of bereavement council that's been set up,
right.
I think off the back of COVID as well again. And they have then spoken to various charities. They spoke to us, spoke to Way, which is a charity, Widowed and Young charity, which we're doing some stuff with coming up, and various other charities. And that's good that there's a starting point there.
Yeah.
I hope there's some action off the back of that, because not everyone's, some people would want to go back into work. Whether it's the right thing to do is obviously a different story.
Yeah.
But we want to be doing some of that stuff. From our understanding from the Charity Commission, though, you have to be very careful between advocacy and lobbying.
Yeah. I think it just shows, though, doesn't it? There's so much out there. There's such a breadth of need in the very kind of niche category that you're kind of trying to support and deal with. I just think it's a really great thing that you've all kind of found each other and managed to pull together and do it. We could talk about it for ages, but we just try and keep this to like a 30-minute kind of slot, and we've already hit that slot, which is I'm quite amazed by. But I normally say, like, ask questions like, what's your proudest moment and all those kind of things. But I guess I'm interested to hear, like, as a summing up, really, as you are pretty much a startup charity, if we're sitting here in 3 years' time, what do you hope to be looking back at and going, wow, we did that? Like, what would be the thing that you would be hoping that you've achieved in that time that you would be ultimately proud of?
So my personal number is I want in 3 years when it hits 50,000 beneficiaries.
Wow.
50,000 young adults who've lost a parent who have benefited from
your support.
Yeah, their world has become better from our support. So whether that's through micro-learning courses, indirectly through the help guides, all the work we're doing with the universities and schools, 50,000 I think would be a pushy number. But if we can get the right funding pathway and be quite clear with our vision, I think we should get there. Yeah,
it's a great thing to be working towards, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's again another piece of work that we've started to consider more this year is just the impact framework, how we measure it.
Yeah.
For example, building out the fundraising area of the website, but make it where we can collect like feedback on the impact that it's made, why people want to do it, and then the story afterwards for us to be able to collect that and measure it as we move forward, and that will help us set key targets and visions about all the people that we want to impact. But for me, I don't know, it's a hard question. It's just to kind of just keep moving forward, just keep coming up with new campaigns, initiatives, resources, and to just keep growing, I suppose. And that really just I feel stoked that what we've achieved to date, and if we I'm sat here and we touched more lives of people in 3 years' time, and we've got a bigger team around us, and we have we're a go-to charity for this age group. It's just kind of like that would be pretty incredible.
Yeah, great stuff. I think it's great that you've got that ambition and that drive, and having that ultimate goal for 3-year target it's a punchy number, but I think you're right, it's achievable. I think you can do it.
So we've got to come back here in 3 years' time.
So we'll book a time for 3 years, 3 years from now, and we'll see how you get on. We won't hold you to it, but you won't get into the Moscow Mule if you don't hit 50,000. So I think that's fair.
That's an incentive enough.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much, guys, for being on the Behind the Cause podcast. It's been great, and we'll see you in 3 years.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you for listening. For more information about Make Good Grow or any of the good causes that we featured on the Behind the Cause podcast series, visit makegoodgrow.com/podcast.